Hooray! You've just won $1 million in the lottery. However, your prize can only be claimed in one of two ways. The first is to claim the $1 million today, and the second is to claim the $1 million in 1 year's time. As any good financial accounting student would do, you decide to claim the money today. Why is it better to receive $1 million today? There could be several reasons, but consider the following. Suppose you took the $1 million you received today and put it in a bank account that earns 1% annual interest. When you come back to the bank a year from now, you will have $1,010,000 in your account. Your bank account is now worth 101% of its original amount. Had you decided to claim your prize in a year's time, you wouldn't have made that extra $10,000. Because the money you have on hand today has this potential for growth, we always treat it as if it will be worth more than its face value. Thus, $1 million today is always worth more than $1 million in 1 year or any future date. This idea is called the time value of money, where we treat money as if its value decreases over time. This is because that money can earn interest over time. We refer to the value of an amount of money today as its present value, and the value of that same amount in the future as its future value. It is important to know how to convert between present value and future value when accounting for financial assets that mature over time, like bonds and stocks. The formula to convert future value to present value is the following. Where PV is present value, FV is future value. I is the annual interest rate, and N is the number of periods. Going from future value to present value is also known as discounting because we are going from an amount plus its future interest back down to what the amount is worth today without its interest. To go from present value to future value, we use the following formula. Going from present value to future value is also known as compounding because we are going from an amount today without interest up to the amount plus its interest in the future. Let's revisit our $1 million lottery ticket. If you decide to get your prize money now, the present value of that money would be $1 million. However, you know now that the $1 million won't be worth $1 million in a year's time. We can use the future value formula to calculate the future value of your $1 million. Let's assume the current interest rate is 4% and see how much interest we accumulate in a year. Wow, it looks like choosing to receive the money now was the right move, because you can get an additional $40,000 worth of accrued interest. You are excited to tell your family about your new fortune, so you call your grandma first. She is absolutely stunned at the news, but now she has a question for you. She's wondering how much she should have invested 60 years ago to have $1 million today, the equivalent of your prize money. Can you figure that out? Remember that we also have a formula to adjust a future value back to its present value. In this situation, the $1 million is the future value, and we want to discount it back to the value it would have been 60 years ago. Let's assume a 4% interest rate again and see the discount in action. That doesn't seem like a whole lot. Apparently, your $1 million today was only worth $95,060.40 60 years ago. We just learned how to adjust between present and future values for a single amount. But what if the transaction we are interested in involves a series of payments? For example, what if the lottery prize of $1 million was to be paid to you in 5 equal sums of $200,000 instead? We refer to a series of equal dollar amounts to be received or paid periodically as an annuity. Examples of annuities include loan agreements, payments made in installments, mortgage notes, lease or rental contracts, and pension plans. There are 2 kinds of annuities that we deal with: ordinary annuities and annuities due. Ordinary annuities are amounts that are paid at the end of each period, while annuities due are paid at the beginning of each period. Let's begin with ordinary annuity. How would we find its present value? Remember that an annuity is simply a series of single amount payments that you receive at regular intervals. For our $1 million, we are getting a single amount of $200,000 1 year from now, then 2 years from now, then 3 years from now, all the way to 5 years from now. That means we can use the present value formula we already know to derive the value of an annuity, because the present value of the annuity will simply be the present value of all the payments from the annuity. In this case, the present value of the annuity is the present value of $200,000 compounded at 4% for 1 year, plus the present value of $200,000 compounded at 4% for 2 years, plus the present value of $200,000 compounded at 4% for the 3 years, all the way to 5 years. A similar line of thinking will get you the future value of an annuity. Simply sum up the future values of the individual payments instead. However, that's a lot of work, especially if you have a lot of compounding periods. Try doing that for a 20-year mortgage. If you're wondering whether there's a formula for that, there is. For the ordinary annuity, we use the following formula for present value. Where PV is present value, FV is future value, A is annuity payment per period, I is interest rate, and N is the number of periods the annuity is paid for. If we are interested in the present and future values of the annuity due, we need to multiply the previous formulas by 1 plus I. This will account for the extra period that is at the very beginning, as we start accumulating interest at the beginning of each period now. Thus, the present value is, and the future value is. Back to your lottery prize money. Let's say there was a third option, where you can choose to receive $250,000 once a year for 4 years. At the same interest rate of 4%, what's the future value of this annuity? In this scenario, the annuity is $250,000. The interest is 4%, and the number of periods is 4. With this, you will end up receiving $1,061,616 after receiving all your payments at the end of the 4-year annuity payment period. To calculate exactly how much our money would be worth in the future, we use the future value or compounding formula because interest is compounded or added onto our initial amount. we can use the present value or discounting formula to go in the other direction to see what amount we would need today to arrive at a certain amount in the future. We also looked at the annuity, where we deal with equal amounts of money being paid out over multiple periods. Present and future values of annuities are made up of the sum of the present or future values of the individual payments. Because of this, annuities usually differ from lump sums, even if their total amounts appear to be the same amount on the surface. Always remember to keep the time value of money in mind the next time you are dealing with any amount that matures over time.